I wanted to make one more video before I continue down my intended creative path and get back to covering important issues. Firstly, I've appreciated the response to the social media platform. I've received several leads both on the technical and financial front, and will be following up on all of them. Worst case scenario, the video and concept will sit there for a short while, as this channel grows and word spreads. But one way or another, I want to make this happen. And in fact, I think it needs to happen. There's no denying the platform project is a significant one, requiring a fair amount of expense, technical talent, time, and effort. And I realize it must seem daunting and incredibly difficult to many. So I've developed something of a middle ground solution, an additional idea I wanted to share that I think might act as a half step towards harnessing much of the power of the upcoming platform, yet could be created much more quickly and cheaply, and perhaps even serve to help fund the creation of the platform. It strikes me that one of the hallmarks of our age, relative to any other in recorded history, is that we're absolutely drowning in content and information. Gone are the days in which one would need to visit countless libraries or travel the world to seek out an answer to a weighty question. The upsides of this are obvious. The downsides aren't so obvious to many, but they're very real. The balance has shifted to quantity over quality, and the signal-to-noise ratio has plummeted. Content and information abound, but much of it seems to be garbage, to be frank. I've come to believe the only way to properly solve for this problem is to harness the collective power of our community. We live finite and busy lives, and no individual could ever hope to go through even a fraction of a percent of the content that now resides on the web. So taking this into account, what I'm seeking to develop is a standalone browser add-on that would allow us to freely share any link with one another with a simple click, harnessing the power of the entire community to then help curate these links and assure only those deemed to be the most interesting or informative or entertaining rise to the top, and more importantly, those we're most likely to be personally interested in. The way it'll accomplish this goal is fairly straightforward. Your every upvote or downvote will be compared to all other users to create a similarity score between you and each of them. It then finds those users with tastes most similar to your own, and finds the content they've submitted or upvoted that you haven't yet seen, and then lists these most highly in your displayed hierarchy of links. Every link is assigned a score in this manner, and the moment you view or scroll past any of the links in your link feed, this score begins to decay, allowing new content to take its place. In short, it allows us to immediately share any random gem we come across on the web of any type, and then displays the best of these links, along with a short descriptive blurb of text, in a personally tailored hierarchy for you to browse, providing a constant feed of fresh material, whether this be news, podcasts, YouTube videos, blogs, anything the algorithm dictates you might be interested in. An algorithm which constantly adjusts with your every upvote and downvote. There will be several handy features built atop this foundation, such as hashtags for efficient browsing of this link list, a queue to save links for later without losing track of them, perhaps eventually a contacts list to send or receive links directly to or from friends, though its main strength will be in its ability to help sort and sift the overwhelming amount of content on the web, and seek out and display quality over quantity. Just as importantly, this will help us sidestep many of the problems created by those seeking to censor or algorithmically hide our own produced content, and allows us the freedom from being wholly dependent on platforms like YouTube. In my view, the biggest problem with alternatives like BitChute, for example, is that few people ever realize they exist. This construct would allow a creator to upload or write or create his content anywhere on any platform and still attain an audience. I tend to think this creation might have broad appeal and fulfill a worthwhile purpose, and could be created quickly and relatively cheaply, with direct means of monetization that allow for the compensating of any partner or investor involved, with the remainder going to fund future projects such as the platform. I'm intently seeking those interested in doing things, creating solutions to the problems that face us. Solutions do exist. We need only to find them and have the will to bring them into being. If this is you, please reach out to me directly. And while we're on the topic of money, several people commented and reached out after the last video, suggesting I shouldn't be bothered by asking for help or patronage. Giving it a bit more thought, I've definitely developed something of a pathological dislike of the dollar over the recent years. There are several reasons for this, including the noticing that virtually all of my favorite people, past and present, tend to be of modest means, and so many of my least favorite seem to be absurdly wealthy. Coupled with the ramifications of our fiat currency system and the psychological effects of our frenzied pursuit of money and possessions, I've grown to adore that mental picture of Jesus ousting the money changers in that sudden outburst of righteous indignation. Our materialistic focus causes us to fall from the sacred to the profane across the board, and I've come to believe this is by design. It's a bit like a raging inferno is burning our house down around us, a house our fathers painstakingly built over the generations with great wisdom and love, each adding their own element. And here individuals like Ben Shapiro suggest tweaks and refinements to the economic system, or Jordan Peterson suggesting cleaning our room as the solution to all, just strikes me as absurd. A means of being burned to death or dying of smoke inhalation in a tidier room with slightly more entertaining toys. In my view, we have three sane options: fighting to put the fire out, sounding the alarm, or giving it up for a loss and immediately setting out to construct anew. After all I've learned about the true nature and scale of what's occurring, I'm incapable of devoting my time and energy to any other pursuit. And in fact, all others have come to seem ridiculous in comparison. The problem we face is bigger than the merely political or financial, and thus can't be solved by either of these two means. It's a spiritual and cultural rot, and it has to be recognized and tackled as such. Though I've since lost every dime and possession to my name, I was lucky enough to earn far more money than I knew what to do with in my early 20s. But the reason I use the phrase lucky enough here is because it forever freed me from that grass is always greener on the other side mentality that's so difficult to shake for many of us. We live in a culture that seeks to paint financial and material success as profoundly important. And being able to shake this notion and dispense with this measure of value when it comes to judging myself or others has been a godsend. I've learned to recognize and value character, genuineness of heart and soul, creativity and intellect, judgment. And I'm constantly humbled by those at the top of this pyramid, whereas those atop the financial pyramid are scarcely tolerable anymore, and seem to represent everything going awry in our world. Money not only fails to produce genuine happiness and fulfillment, I learned it can also act as a very real stumbling block in a world in which avoiding distraction and temptation is so incredibly important. Having said that, I have probably gone to an extreme. While I think that wealth, and especially the lifelong pursuit of it, can be unhealthy and counterproductive, extreme lack has some downsides as well. I've become a fan of eating food from time to time, having a roof over my head, electricity, and I'm finding it harder to manage such things. I was already in a precarious position before a recent accident, resulting in medical bills I can't begin to handle. But the last thing I want is money for nothing. I've been giving some thought to ways I can continue to research and write and create, and hopefully create some technical solutions to some of the problems we face. And finally had the realization that since I'm doing all these things for all of you at the end of the day, why not get your consensus opinion on how to best solve this problem? I have an important story I need to tell as quickly as possible. After 2 decades of living and breathing these issues in nearly every waking moment of my life, and I've only just touched on the tip of the iceberg thus far. It'll touch on human history, origins and migrations, genetics, the rise and implications of AI, and it's a contextual puzzle I've put together that I think may shed some unique light on the broader picture of our reality. There's nothing I want more than to be able to live simply and without distraction, and devote my energy towards introducing whatever clarity I'm able into increasingly muddied waters. Purposefully muddied waters, I fear. And to fight to turn the tide of cultural and spiritual degeneration. I feel like I've recently come to understand a great deal of the how and why behind our existential crisis in the West, and even some potential solutions, both virtual and real world. And this will be the arc I'll be seeking to trace. I only need to find some means of sustainably doing so. So here's the question. Which of the following might you be most interested in? Number 1, a book. Number 2, a regular podcast, in which I would either start or end each session by answering questions from patrons. Number 3, a regular live stream, in which I would do the same. Number 4, a Patreon donor tier for those seeking to learn the process of video creation. Number 5, a string of bank heists, each more daring and foolhardy than... No, that's not supposed to be there. 4 options. We have 4 options. I'd love to do all of these things without seeking compensation, but I'd also prefer to avoid living in a van down by the river, if at all possible. As soon as I'm able to make ends meet, I'm looking forward to producing a simple guide on obtaining and making use of free software to produce high-quality content, limited by only your creativity and imagination. I've come across so many potent minds out there who simply don't have an outlet. I would love to help remedy that. So that's about all for this divergence from my usual type of content. I appreciate you all and look forward to creating at a much quicker pace in the near future, one way or another, and genuinely appreciate the support and kind words. It's a great feeling to be certain of the path you're walking, and with any luck, I'll soon be sprinting and reaching greater numbers in the process. And I owe it to you guys. Thank you.